Hey guys, it's Slithe here with HobbiesofaMan. Once again, and today we're doing another ThunderCats review. Today we're looking at issue 10. It's been a while since I did one of these. I think it's been like 3 or 4 months at this point. And that's because Dynamite, or actually Diamond, has a lot of issues with their releasing and the way that they, prioritize different comic book stores and their distribution. And, they're like bankrupt or something now. And so this had been ordered for me on time like normal. And somehow it just never got to me. And so I just kept putting it off and waiting and waiting and waiting. And finally it got here last week. And so I'm finally have it in my hands. Now I can read through the rest of the ThunderCats issues that are missing. I can finally buy the rest of them that I have at my store. And I'm quite happy about that. But yeah, so this is by Declan Shelvey and Joe Mulvey, who is a different artist than usual. And that's because this is actually kind of like what's the word? An interlude, if you can call it that. So at the end of the last issue, we had this big fight between the mutants, specifically the Monkeans, and the ThunderCats, and Slithe was part of that. And this is the aftermath of that. But it doesn't focus on the ThunderCats. This is a story about Slithe and his origin and where he comes from, and kind of setting up this character as much more important and developing his side characters as well. So after the fight with the ThunderCats, Slithe has survived, of course, thank God, because we need him. And he tastes defeat again and again, and he's upset about this, but he's ultimately mollified by the fact that he has won the Sword of Plundar. And so even if he did lose the battle, he won a great weapon, right? And he walks off. And as he's kind of walking off, he finds in the distance like a mirage of a person, and this eventually turns into another reptilian and mutant, and he doesn't know who this guy is because it's not one of his warriors, and he keeps asking him, hey, who are you, and the young man doesn't really answer him, but he tries to help him anyways, right? And as he's kind of doing this, we get a few different flashbacks here. So we had this initial flashback, which is Thundera and the Great War, and this is all the mutants getting together to attack Thundera, right? And they almost had them, and this is kind of the initial framing of this battle. It's very equal, it's actually, I think even the mutants are actually winning in this version, and it seems like they're about to overthrow the ThunderCats, but of course they didn't. And so that's the initial kind of version of the story that we see, right? We come back to the present. We see that Slithe has gotten closer to the young reptilian, and he sees something about him that reminds him of something, but we don't know what it is. But he goes with him because he trusts or believes in this young man in some way due to what he saw, right? We get a flashback again. This time it's called years ago instead of the Great War or whatever. And we see that Slithe is at home and he's getting ready for the Great War. He's preparing. He is with his wife and his child. And we see this little boy looks very similar to that reptilian man. Now, that's probably just because they're all reptilians. But obviously, there is this setup going on here for a big reveal here at the end, right? And he promises his wife that he's going to come back soon. But of course, it seems like that was not the case, right? Because he obviously lost the war, so he doesn't come back. Or maybe he does. We see this later on. So we get a second view of this battle. And it seems like this one is much more even, right? It seems like they are more evenly matched. But of course, the Thunderians are better off because, they have higher levels of technology than the mutants, right? And then this is a bit more honest. It was a big of a bad loss. And Slithe has escaped, right? He manages to find a way to leave. And it doesn't look like he did that well of a job, honestly, but he does. We come back to the now. We see that the ThunderCats are scouting the field, trying to find Slithe and other generals. And the young reptilian is about to attack them. He's about to throw his axe at them when Slithe stops him. He's like, hey, we got to retreat. We're not going to win against them, right? Not right now. And so they leave. And we return to the same flashback from years ago again, and we see the same battle, that last kind of moment when Slithe escapes from a slightly different angle. And in this case, Slithe is not a great warrior. He is surrounded, and he has to find a way to escape from all of these ThunderCats that are about to kill him, right? From all of these, cat people that are about to destroy him, right? And he's finally gone, and he returns home, and he realizes that his family has been stolen from him, that they don't have anything left. His village, his town, his whole planet has been stolen. And this is all because he went off to the Great War and he wasn't here to protect his people, because apparently the Thunderians had been planning to do these things to remove the families of the important generals, and in general the families of all the warriors that were at the Great War, in order to remove them and take them to Third Earth, right? Which is where the penal colony situation started. And it's pretty interesting. I actually quite like this. So we return to the now again, and we see that this boy talks about the war. And then the Monkian general, Monkian, shows up, and him and Slithe have a fight because the Monkian gets mad at the young Reptilian and he smacks him. And this is when Slithe kind of understands, oh, this is my son, and he kills the Monkian, right? Or he attacks him, and as he's trying to get him to back down, the young man throws his axe and kills the Monkian. In kind of a sneak attack almost, right? And so the boy initially, or finally, reveals himself to be his son, and Slithe initially doesn't want to believe him, right? There's this very like Luke and Darth Vader kind of reveal, even though it's backwards. And then he tells him, when you left to war, the Thunderians showed up and they took us away and they brought us to Third Earth, and we had to find a way to survive. And I've managed to do that, and I'm strong and powerful now, and I want you to come with me, right? And so Slithe is quite proud of his son. He feels very good about this, and the last thing he says is, okay, take me to your mother, and they walk off into the sunset to go find Slithe's family. And I think this is great. I actually really like this a lot. I find myself very interested in the concepts that are happening lately in these kind of like 80s properties, like Transformers, like ThunderCats, where we're seeing the humanization of some of these evil characters, and we're understanding them, that they're not really evil per se. They're, misguided, or maybe they are evil, but they still have elements to them that are human and that need to be, looked at or addressed, right? It's also kind of a bit too gray area, right? I mean, stories can be black and white, and they don't have to be these comic convoluted messes of like, he's bad, but he's actually a good man, so it's okay if he's bad, and these sort of things, right? It doesn't need to be that. I just think that this was a great story anyways, because I like this character. I worry that sometimes we fall into that kind of like evil people are good people to someone kind of trope, because it's like yeah, obviously everyone knows that, but it doesn't need to be part of the story, right? It makes it muddier and harder to really prefer one team or the other. In this case, Lion-O and the Wily kids and in general, maybe the ThunderCats themselves are also pretty innocent. They're not the ones getting or going out of their way to attack other people, especially the mutants. But the mutants are right to want to kill the ThunderCats, or at least have some level of justification to their desire for revenge if the ThunderCats or the Thunderian government did this to them, right? So it makes it more complex and realistic, but it also makes it harder to be like, okay, well, I can just turn off my brain and enjoy this, right? And so there's kind of a trade-off that I'm not necessarily sure needs to be traded off so often. Overall, I'm really enjoying this. I thought it was really cool. I like this story a lot. I think it was well done. I enjoyed the art style. It's a bit slightly different from the usual, but not so much that it's bad. I actually had a great time with this. So yeah, there you go. Those are my thoughts on this. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for watching, and see you guys later.